Jesus, get over here. What do you want, Mom? We're here at this marriage of Cana, and we've run out of wine. If you haven't paid attention, Jesus, we don't get invited to a lot of parties. We don't really fit in with a lot of these other people. If this party fails, we're not going to be invited to any more. So what do you expect from me, Mom? I expect you to go downstairs and turn that water into wine. They've run out of wine. The buzz is gone. We need you to save this party. Oh, come on, woman. Don't you know my time hasn't come yet? Don't you come on, woman, to me. You're a teenager. It's time for you to step up and show everyone your power. Now go downstairs and treat me like the mother that I am and make that water into wine. And that's what Jesus did. And he went downstairs and he made the water into wine. And we know about it because it's written in John 2, 1 through 11. And he did use those words. Oh, come on, woman. It's not my time. This is a tiny miracle, his very first. Not like walking on water, not like feeding 5,000, not like raising somebody from the dead. And as I sat and listened to the gospel at Sunday, Father Kevin said, this is how a lot of miracles are in our lives. They're not spectacular, and that's why they're not noticed. Have you ever sat in Mass wondering, where's the latest miracle? If Jesus did all these great things, why aren't they being done today? And Father Kevin's answer was to challenge me and everyone else to go out and find the small miracles, the little ones. Not like walking on water, not like rising from the dead, but the ones that matter to you. Where the water has been changed to wine, and it influences you. Well, he challenged me, so I looked in my life. I said, what miracles have happened to me in this water versus wine variety? And I'm not asking you to believe what I say. I'm asking you to look into your own lives. After I'm done, I'm not going to try and sell you anything. I'm not going to try and sell you tapes. I'm not going to try and sell you anything at all. Because I'll tell you, I'm a skeptic. I'm logical. I'm an engineer. And every time anyone has ever talked to me about miracles, the first thing I've done is grab my wallet and hold on tight. So I'm not trying to sell you anything here tonight, but I'm going to ask you at the end to maybe look in your own lives and see if something that you've attributed to luck or Lady Fortune may have something to do with God. So the first miracle, I had this big argument with my wife, which hardly ever happens. And I was out in Coronado walking my dog, and we had this major argument, and I had the dog off the leash because I seem to think that I know how to train the dog. And if you have the dog off the leash, occasionally you can train the dog, but every now and then the dog doesn't pay attention. And at this particular time, as I was ruminating on all the things my wife had said and how most of them were wrong, but then maybe some of them were right, but then, well, shucks, maybe most of them were right, well, that would make me mostly wrong. And so finally I got to the point where I realized that I probably need to go back and apologize. And just then, my dog runs right in front of this car, being driven by some elderly people who didn't stop, even when I screamed, "No!" And I thought to myself, that's the last thing my wife needs is me bringing home a dead dog tonight. And I actually saw the dog get run over by the car. The people didn't stop, kept on going, and I heard a thump. And I thought, oh my gosh, my dog is dead. And I ran out there, Rudy, where are you? And Rudy comes bounding from the bushes. Not a scratch on him. Not a scratch. Not a bruise. Nothing. I went home, I said, I think I just saw a miracle, honey. She said, yeah, sure you did. I said, no, I really did. I saw my dog get hit by a car and there's not a scratch on him. Second miracle, depths of the Depression. The Obama Depression, only 3 or 4 years ago. It was miserable. Miserable, the worst depression I've ever been in. There's whole industries that are out of business right now. You used to be able to go buy a boat at 2 Marine Maxes in town. Both of them are out of business. You used to be able to go buy an RV at 14 different RV places. 2 of them are still in business. Nobody realizes, because of the welfare state, how bad it really is in our country. My income fell to half, to 40% of what it used to be. Not for 1 year, not for 2 years, but for 3 or 4 years. My debt didn't decrease. My debt's still the same. I had to go borrow money, which luckily I had. I had to write from my IRA, which is now gone. I had to work 6 days a week, which I still do, 10 hours a day. It was horrible. I had to sell half of what I have at half cost. My wife sold all of her jewelry except for her wedding ring. It's miserable. But we wanted to pay our bills. We didn't want to think about bankruptcy. My wife talked about it. She said, we could get rid of all of those credit card bills. We could get rid of them. We can, those insurance companies, they're just taking advantage of you. We should just do what all the big institutions do and take advantage back and just use that bankruptcy code. Your hero, Donald Trump, has done it 3 or 4 times. If he can do it, why can't you do it? And I said, well, I feel that I'm called to a higher standard. And she said, what makes you think that? I said, because I have the 10 Commandments posted by my garage door, and I walk past it every day. And number 6 says, thou shalt not steal. And that's what I would be doing if I declared bankruptcy. And she said, all right, well, same time tomorrow, we're going to have this discussion for another hour until you change your mind, Eric. It was miserable. It was absolutely miserable. I saw my net worth go from 7 figures down to 3 figures. Basically what I had in my wallet. That's horrible. I had a credit report that was outstanding without a single blemish on it. At the end of 3 or 4 years, instead of being like the apple polisher that sits at the front of the class, who's always smiling at the teacher and getting straight A's, I felt like I was the student behind the gym that got caught smoking. Horrible. And just at the time that things were going the worst, I lost this lawsuit. Somebody owed me money, $60,000, and he got off on a technicality. And to add injury or insult to injury, I got stuck paying his bill. I had to pay $40,000 in attorney's bills. That was the last thing I needed to do, is come home and tell my wife that. And just at the time that all of this was being heaped upon me, I had one guy who was willing to pay his bill. I had done a renewal for him. And the renewal was for $7,000 a month for 60 months. It's $420,000 he was going to make in the next 5 years. And he had to pay me $25,000. And unlike all my other clients who said, no one's paying me, so I'm not going to pay you, Art, he said, I'm going to pay you. And I said, thank you, I can make my wife stay today. She's not going to yell at me maybe for 4 days straight. Woohoo! He was my angel. He came at the right time. Now, was it luck? Was it just the luck of the draw? Was it lady luck? Was it chance? Maybe, but I don't think so. I went home and said, an angel came to me today, Barb, and he brought $25,000. Count this. Now, I don't want you to get the impression that I don't love my wife. I love my wife. She is the best thing that has ever happened to me. And that's my third miracle. When I was in college, I wasn't sure I wanted to be in the Army ROTC program. But I went down to the Army ROTC office, and I was interviewing with Master Sergeant Blanchard, and this absolutely gorgeous Italian brunette walked by and gave me this mesmerizing smile. And that was it. That was like love or lust, one of the two at first sight. It was amazing. I took one look at her and I said, sign me up. And he said, whoa, I thought you were going to interview with the Air Force and the Navy. I said, no need. My future is here. And then I pursued her for the next 2.5 years until she said, I do. And she's been the best thing that's ever happened to me. And if any of you wonder how that happened, it could be chance, but I don't think so. Me being at the right place at the right time and finding the woman that actually can put up with me for the last 26 years is a huge, huge thing. And that I still am so deeply in love with her is a huge, huge thing. And if any of you doubt that this is a miracle, I'd like to quote you the immortal words of Mottel the tailor from Fiddler on the Roof. Because
sewing machine.
He got to marry the woman of his dreams. And on the night that he was able to marry the woman of his dreams, he had some words for us. And they were, now let me think about them for a second. When Moses softened Pharaoh's heart, that was a miracle. When God caused the waters of the Red Sea to part, that was a miracle too. But of all God's miracles, large and small, the most miraculous one of all is that out of a worthless lump of clay, God has made a man today.
Wow.
That's going straight to YouTube, baby. Whoa!